365
Apps.
So we're here at the SharePoint conference again with Karuana, the master Teams expert. And it's great having you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Can you explain to the viewers, what do you do within Microsoft?
Oh, I run our customer advocacy group. Basically, I help customers use Microsoft Teams.
That's clear. And Microsoft Teams is growing and growing. Like it has like a very steep growth at this moment. It's like hockey stick growth if I see the numbers. So it's huge when you look at adoption.
It is.
But I think there are some topics like governance and addressing those with your champions and the stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about how organizations should work with teams and making sure that people are doing the right things regarding governance?
Oh, well, actually, we have some great tools around that right now. Here at the conference, we launched the Microsoft Adoption Resource page, and we have all sorts of good information on this. But essentially, you should start and get your hands on the product, right? Really understand how the product works before you make these large-scale governance decisions. Like people are trying to make decisions about something they've never tried, and that's really kind of a problem. So run some experiments, have some early adopters, pick a scenario, and do that scenario end to end, and then go forward and roll it out to folks, right? It's really helpful that way.
So one of the things I hear very commonly is like, yeah, we opened up teams and now we have like thousands of teams and we can't control them. And
Right.
So what would be your answer on that? Wow.
Well, I do think that there are 3 levels of governance that you should have. I think there's an authoritative site, and sometimes this is a hub site or a home site in SharePoint.
And a home site is something new, right?
It is new. It is a new thing. But we've always, the way that we've designed SharePoint infrastructures, had this idea of the main site, like the HR site, the real estate and facility site, the sales site. Those are what we call authoritative. They're the real deal, and you don't want 2 of them. Right? So the same thing is true in Teams. And I used to tell people, it's a little bit like domain squatting. You want to go in and reserve those names until that group's ready to onboard so you don't end up with 2. But when you get to the point where people are just you and I want to do a project, and we want to spin something up, we ought to be able to do that, right?
Sure.
But there's a lot of innovative stuff going on out there in the MVP community and with partners. They're creating a little bit of a provisioning front end for Teams, which I kind of like as an IT pro. I like that. As a product manager, I want to make sure that people are just using the product. But I do understand the need for having a little bit of governance to make a better experience.
Okay. So you're saying 2 things. So first, there should be like a basic information architecture where you have at least
Tiers.
2 or 3 layers.
2 or 3 levels, yeah. It's usually 3.
Yeah, usually 3, and make sure that everybody is aware of that.
Yes.
So it's driving awareness and making sure that the champions and people talking to end users are aware of the fact that if you're doing something in HR, it needs to be somehow connected to the HR hub.
That's right.
So that's one. And the other thing you're naming is provisioning, which is if people should be allowed, if you create a project team site, that just to hit the button, but maybe just to answer a couple of questions before they do so. So like, will it have customer sensitive data, or will it have external users? And then if it has like external users, you could appoint the owner of the data, for example.
That's correct.
And do like quarterly controls on it and check if the people who have access to the team still should have access to it.
He's been reading my stuff. You've been reading my stuff. That's exactly what I would have said. You totally have it together. Everything he just said, right? That is exactly right. Because what you want really, though, is you want to make sure to have controlled self-service. Self-service doesn't mean the wild, wild west of everybody doing what they want. People misunderstand us when we talk about that. Having a little bit of control and some policies that still allow people to get what they need when they want it, but you as an IT professional, as an organization, are having some management ability. So yes, that is the right way to do it. Thank you for reading all my stuff. Makes me feel special.
You are special. There's no doubt about it.
I don't know about that.
There's no doubt about it. You are special.
Thank you.
So one other thing. So I had a lot of chat this week about how Teams is growing and the success of this product. And what we're basically seeing, especially now that we have the application pages and that we have like the full SharePoint experience on a document library or a list, we're getting the feeling like Teams is like becoming the front end of SharePoint, and that it's so much getting like the way that end users will be using SharePoint through Teams.
Well, look, I'm a diehard SharePoint person, right? I mean, I love SharePoint and the power of it. But there is something to be said for having that unified experience. But let's be really clear. SharePoint is an application that lives on the web, and it's a platform. The fact that you can access it through Teams is awesome. But, we're still two products, right?
Yep.
But anytime I can simplify something for the user experience is a good thing. I mean, that's why I like demonstrating those full screen lists and libraries. I think it's beautiful because it keeps the confusion down.
Yep.
Right? And it's confusion to some extent that we created by having a lot of collaboration products. So I take that. But, I also just want to humbly kind of honor the fact that, SharePoint is the content services powerhouse that provides all of our file storage capabilities, right? For shared files via SharePoint and OneDrive for personal files. So all of that connective tissue, having it all work together is what's powerful. So I don't always think about Teams or SharePoint or Flow. I think about Microsoft 365. And how can I use all of those tools to make cool stuff that makes people's lives better? That's really why I get up in the morning. I'm more interested in that.
So, of course, it's doing things. It's a use case. How can you most easily get a job done?
Absolutely.
Right? And we only have to remember that all your files are being stored in SharePoint. It doesn't matter if you're using the OneDrive client on your Mac or your PC, if you're using Teams. Or the web browser, the data is stored in SharePoint.
Because nobody cares. Let's be clear.
Well, we should not care.
I'm a SharePoint person. I'm a Microsoft Teams person. I'm a Microsoft person. I've been here a long time. I care. But if I'm teaching somebody in an office who's never seen it before what to do, they're talking about the task. They're not talking about the name of the product.
True.
And I really try when I'm doing end user training to not mention the name of the product because it's irrelevant to what that person's trying to accomplish. And so, I know from our kind of industry expert perspective, we care about that a lot, but I don't think end users care about that a whit.
I agree. But it's something, this messaging, we have to get to all the consultants and people working at partners because we tend to put things in baskets or too much like this is SharePoint, this is OneDrive, this is Teams.
Stop doing that.
Look at the use case. It's what the user wants to get done, and that's the core. And actually, when I look back, so I'm doing SharePoint also like almost 20 years now, and I really fell in love with the UI and doing things from the browser. But for some reason, navigating SharePoint in the browser for the average user, it's hard, and we have to let go a little bit and accept this. And say, well, it's great to also use your OneDrive on-demand sync and get your traditional folder structure there to get the data, or use Teams to do navigation. So, and that's really what we have to look at. What's the easiest way to get the job done? And there's no must to always use the browser.
No, and the other piece of that too is I can pin a site from SharePoint inside of Teams. And even though I can have a beautiful experience, there's a navigation challenge there right now. There's no back button in that when you pin a website, like a SharePoint site inside of Teams. So, that continues to be a challenge. I feel like we have some more connective tissue to build, but yes, I implore people. I know that we've all become experts in individual products. Like people used to know me for SharePoint, now they know me for Microsoft Teams, but what I actually want them to know me for is business solution architecture and leadership. Like that's what I actually do. And the products have changed out over time. Hey, I used to design Lotus Notes applications, right? Back in the day, but I do the same work. It's a different stack now. So I really feel like you can have value in this industry without necessarily having to align yourself with a particular product. And for all those SharePoint people out there, now is the time you can expand your skill set. There's so much opportunity. You can expand into Power Apps and Flow. You can do things in Teams. You can understand what like live meeting production is about. There's a lot of areas that you can really expand to based on what your interests are. So, don't limit yourself to a particular thing. Yeah, stop it. Because it's only hurting you, right? If you're only good at one thing, even if it's a really big one thing, it's still one thing. So, make sure that you expand and embrace everything that's happening in this business right now.
Yeah. We have to become mature as technologists and consultants, step away from product thinking. Of course, there's a product brand on it, but the core thing is the use case, getting work done, and
Yeah. And having fun while you do it.
Yeah,
have
enjoy
fun while
it.
you do it. This should be, if I always tell people, if you're not having fun at this point in this business right now, then you should think about that for a minute. Because the change can be exciting, even though it's stressful. I hear that. I know it's stressful how fast we're moving, but it is really exciting what I can build today right out of the box without code. I love that. And then when you do add a talented developer to the mix, the things that you can do now are so phenomenal. So I'm really excited about that, and I just love that I can have such a great experience also from my mobile device. You know, I do happen to be a fangirl of the Microsoft Teams mobile app because I am a fangirl. I'll say it, because it's so good, and I can have a video chat from anywhere, right? And then when my life changes, like, hey, my flight got delayed or moved up, I can still give that presentation from the hallways of Seattle International Airport like I did a couple weeks ago. So I can really be there for people, whether it's my family or, you know, my work. And I like that flexibility in getting really quality out of my life and living the culture change. So it's a good thing.
Well, I think you're a great ambassador for the change and the new technologies that we have.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you for this great explanation on how things are changing and where we're heading.
That's it. That's great. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And for all the time that you spend, you know, sharing information with people and helping us spread the message. And clearly all the time you spend reading the stuff I write. Like, you get the gold star for that. So that's awesome. Thank you so much.
I love doing so. Thanks.
Bye-bye.